Hello friends, hope all are you in the home in this pandemic period and are safe. So let us learn online, anywhere, anytime. In this lecture, we will see a topic from BSc Part 1, that is bacterial cell organization. This topic deals with very basics of the cell organization, that is our bacterial cell, how it looks, which are the parts of bacterial cell and how they functions. So let us see bacterial cell organization. These are my contact details. If you have any difficulty, you can mail me. This is my mail. Now, this topic consists of different points. First is where first of all we're going to study morphology of bacterial cell, how it looks from external. Secondly, which are the parts of bacterial cell, how they arrange, what is the structure of these parts and how they functions. In this particular lecture, we will go detail about the cell wall and cell membrane. First two parts of the bacterial cell. Now let us go for the first part of the bacterial cell organization, and that is morphology. Though it is very basic, it is essential to study how bacteria looks under the microscope because this morphology is the character used for the classification of bacteria. Now what is the morphology of a bacterial cell? Now all of you know morpho means external, study of external characters. In case of bacteria, external characters are cell size, shape and arrangement. So study of cell size, shape and arrangement of bacteria is called as morphology. Now which are the different? First of all, go for the shape and arrangement of bacteria. How these bacteria arrange, or which are the different types of the shapes in case of the bacteria. So let us go about the shape and arrangement of the, let us discuss about the shape and arrangement of the bacteria. Now in case of all bacteria, there are only three types of shapes we generally observe. These shapes are, first is a rod shaped bacteria. This is like a cylindrical shape. These rod shaped bacteria, which are observed as a cylindrical, they are in the microbiology they are called as bacilli. Singularly it is called as bacillus. So this is the first shape of bacteria. In later slide we will see these sketches of rods or bacilli. Second shape which was observed in case of bacteria is spherical. It is entire circle. Sphericals are the entire circle or ball-like bacteria. In microbiology, they are called as cocci. When single, they are called as coccus. Third shape of the bacteria usually observed is spiral or spirochetes. It is a wave-like bacteria. So basically, there are only three shapes of bacteria: rods called as bacilli, spherical called as cocci, and spiral bacteria. Now we will go in detail about the arrangement of these bacilli, cocci and spiral. Arrangements of these rods, spherical and spirochetes. This is the sketches of rod-shaped bacteria. These are the cocci. These types of cocci are there. Here these are the shapes observed in case of rods. In case of rod, we will also observe wide rod, slender rod, long rods like that, or comma shaped rod that we will observe in case of Vibrio bacteria. These are the spiral shapes in case of the spiral bacteria. Now let us see how they arrange. What type of arrangements are there in case of the cocci as well as in case of the bacilli. First of all, we will go for the arrangement in case of the cocci. Now in cocci or spherical bacteria, as you know, they are a entire circle or a ball shaped bacteria. They can divide during the binary cell division. They can divide in number of different planes of the division, and because of that they show different arrangements in case of the cocci. In according to the plane of cell division, there are number of different varieties in the arrangements of the cocci. Now we will see that different arrangements. First is the diplococci. Diplo stands for two, a pair of attached cocci and remain after number of divisions. So when you observe this bacteria under microscope, they are observed as a pair of cocci, that is called as diplococci. Second is streptococci. Streptos means chain. These are the chain-like arrangements and divide in one plane after number of division. So under the microscope, we will get the chain of cocci, that is called as streptococci. Then next is tetrad. When a group of four cocci is there, it is called as tetrad. After two vertical divisions, these remain in the group of four. That arrangement is called as tetrad. Now next is Sarcini. Sarcini is a group of 8 cocci After three planes of the division, they forms a bunch of 8 cocci. 4 are in front and 4 are in back. That arrangement is typical arrangement is called as Sarcini. And last one is the Staphylococci. Staphylococci are the bunch of cocci. It looks like a bunch of grape. So grape-like bunches or grape-like clusters. After number of division, that type typical arrangement is called as Staphylococci. So now how they looks? Here, these are the sketches for cocci, arrangements of the cocci. This first is the single coccus. Next is the diplococci, pair of cocci. Third one is the tetrad. This is the tetrad, group of 4 cocci. This one is the Sarcini. Sarcini is the group of 8 cocci, 4 in front and 4 in back. So that is that much, that typical arrangement is called as Sarcini. And next is streptococci. Streptos are the chain cocci in chain, and last one is the cocci in bunches. This is the typical arrangement in case of the cocci. Now let us see arrangement in case of the bacillus. Here bacillus are the rod-shaped bacteria. Here the plane of division in case of bacillus is only one plane, that is the transverse plane of division during the binary fission. So during binary fission, bacillus divide in only one plane, and that's why there is a limited types of arrangement observed in case of bacillus type of organism. Now which are the arrangements in case of the bacillus? In case of bacillus, that is the rod-shaped bacteria. In case of bacillus, that is rod-shaped bacteria, diplobacilli, that is a diplobacilli, that is a pair of attached bacilli remain attached after dividing. Diplo again stands for two, bacilli stands for rod. So a rod-shaped bacteria or bacilli, a pair of bacilli observed on the microscope or such type of bacteria are called as diplobacilli. And next is streptobacilli is the chain-like arrangement in case of bacillus. There is a third shape which is occur between rods and bacillus. It is cocobacillus. Cocobacillus, meaning it is the intermediate shape between cocci and bacillus. Cocobacillus. It is the third shape of bacteria intermediate between cocci and bacillus. These are the oval rods. They are neither exactly rod nor exactly coccus. They are called oval shaped bacteria called as cocobacilli. So these are the photographs, electron micrograph arrangement. This is the cellular arrangements under the electron microscope. We observe these different arrangements of the cocci and rod-shaped bacteria. This one is the single bacillus, streptobacillus, diplobacillus. Single cocci is there, coccus is there, single coccus is there, streptococci, like that, Sarcini, tetrad, and staphylococcus. So these are the electron micrographs showing different arrangements of the cellular, different arrangements of the these are the different arrangements of the rods and cocci observed under the electron microscope. So that is about the morphology of typical bacterial cell. Now we will go for the cytology of typical bacterial cell, which before that, now we will go for the size of bacterial prokaryotic cell. Now our bacteria are smallest prokaryotic cell up till now observed. So their size, now what is here the dot, here prokaryotes are the smallest of all living cell. For our assumption, suppose we wrote this I, letter I, the dot of this I, suppose that dot of this I is of 1 micrometer of the diameter, then that dot can accommodate up to 500 bacteria. That was the assumption, that is a hypothetical. So that much is the small size of bacteria. So they are smallest of all living cell. The size can be usually measured in terms of micrometer. Micrometer, all of you know what is micrometer. 1 micrometer is equal to 0.001 millimeter. That much is the small size of our bacteria, and bacteria are usually measured in terms of unit called as micrometer. Now this measurement, we can measure this bacteria with the help of technique called micrometry. Now how this micrometry can be done in the laboratory? For micrometry we require the stage micrometer and ocular micrometer to be attached to our regular compound microscope. With the help of this micrometric slide, we can measure the size of bacteria. In case of measurement for bacillus, we can measure the size in terms of length into width. For example, 1 to 5 micrometer is the length range of some rod shaped bacteria or bacillus bacteria, and 1 to 2 is their diameter. So that is the range of rods, and rods or bacillus can be given in terms of length into width. In case of cocci can be measured. In case of cocci can be measured in terms of their diameter, that is 0.5 to 1.5 is the range of coccus. Now in case of some bacteria like cyanobacter like blue-green algae, in case of some bacteria like cyanobacteria, that is blue-green algae, they are quite large. They are about 60 micrometer in the long. Their length is 60 micrometer in the 60 micrometer. So cyanobacteria is quite large bacteria. They are recently divided as a bacteria. Their size may be 60 micrometer long. Here there is one largest bacteria isolated up till now, which was found to be largest bacteria, and the name of bacteria is Thiomargarita namibiensis. It was isolated from Namibia, coastal area of the Namibia. The largest bacterium isolated up till now from the coastal area of the Namibia, and it is Thiomargarita namibiensis. Its size is about 1 millimeter in diameter. So you can observe it by the naked eyes. Very recently it was observed in 1998. So that is about the size of prokaryotic cell. Now let us go for the cytology of typical bacterial cell. Cytology deals with the study of bacterial cell structure, which are the parts of bacteria, how they arrange, what is the chemical nature of these different parts and how they functions. Now this is a typical bacterial cell. It is the transverse section of a typical bacterial cell, showing different parts of a bacteria. As you know, bacteria is a prokaryotic cell. It has a primitive cell organization. Cell has very simple cell organization. It consists of cell envelope. Cell envelope consists of cell wall, cell membrane, capsules. Capsules are not present in all bacteria. They are present only in some bacteria. Along with that, a single chromosome is there. Plasmids, that is extra chromosomal DNA, is there. Ribosomes, granular ribosomes are present in the cytoplasm. Here cytoplasm do not show any compartmentalization as like that of the eukaryotic cell. In the eukaryotes, as you know, there is presence of well developed structures like Golgi body, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, chloroplast, that all are absent in case of prokaryotic cell. Here there is only few cell organelles are present without any compartmentalization. Now here a locomotory organ is there, that is called as flagella. Along with that, small numerous pili are also present. In next lecture we will see all these different structures in detail. Now first of all we will go for the first part of the bacterial cell, that is cell wall. Now what is the cell wall of typical bacterial cell? Here cell wall is the outermost protective covering of the cell. It protects the cell from mechanical injury. So it is outermost cell envelope. Depending upon this cell wall, there are two, depending upon the chemical nature and structure of the cell wall, there are basic two types of the cell wall. One is gram positive and gram negative. This cell wall, nature of the cell wall divide all bacteria as a gram positive and gram negative. Now what is the difference between gram positive cell wall and gram negative cell wall? Here this is the figure showing difference between gram negative cell wall and gram positive cell wall. As figure shows, gram positive cell wall are monolayered. It is more rigid. It consists of a single chemical constituent, that's why it is homogeneous. So this is the gram positive cell wall, and second one is the gram negative cell wall. Gram negative cell wall is bilayered. Here you look, this is the structure of gram negative. Here it consists of outer layer and inner layer. Outer layer is made up of phospholipid, lipopolysaccharide, protein, and inner layer is made up of peptidoglycan. Inner layer is made up of peptidoglycan. So heterogeneous nature. That is how gram negative cell walls are heterogeneous and gram positive cell wall are homogeneous. Because of large amount of peptidoglycan, these gram positive cell wall are more rigid, and in case of gram negative, as less percentage of as in case of gram negative, as there is less amount of peptidoglycan is there, and it is inner side of the cell wall, that cell walls are less rigid. So that is the introduction about the that is about the, so this is about the types of cell wall. Now we will go in detail about the gram positive cell wall and gram negative cell wall, which are the components of gram positive cell wall and which are the components of gram negative cell wall. Now first of all, we'll go for the composition of gram positive cell wall. As I told, gram positive cell wall are homogeneous. They consist of a major component called as peptidoglycan. It is about 70 to 90%. And second minor component is there. It is called as steatoic acid. It is only about 10 to 30%. Now what is peptidoglycan? In case of gram positive cell wall, the gram positive cell wall are also called as murine cell wall or mucopeptide cell wall, because a major component of gram negative cell wall is made up of this murine or peptidoglycan. Now what is this murine? What does means this murine or mucopeptide? What is this peptidoglycan? Now peptidoglycan is a water insoluble polymer. Peptidoglycan is water insoluble polymer. It under the electron microscope, when these cell walls are observed, this cell wall is observed as a woven bag shaped structure. So it is a woven bag shaped heteropolymer. It consists of different subunits. Now what is the exact structure of peptidoglycan that we will see? This peptidoglycan consists of three major components. This peptidoglycan consists of three major components, and one of the most important and major one of the most three major component. One of the first important part of the peptidoglycan. First part is the first subunit is the glycan strand. Now this, what is glycan strand? Glycan strand, as name itself indicate, glycan means it is made up of sugars. Now which types of sugars forms the glycan strand? This glycan strand is the derivative of glucose, which was acylated amino glucose or sugar. Glucose was acylated amino acyl group, and amino group was added to the glucose, and that acylated amino sugars forms the glycan strand. Which are these acylated amino sugars? These sugars are N-acetyl glucosamine and N-acetyl muramic acid. These N-acetyl glucosamine can be abbreviated as this N-acetyl glucosamine can be abbreviated as NAGA, and N-acetyl muramic acid can be abbreviated as NAMA. So there is repeating units of NAGA and NAMA. These repeating units, these two sugars are bound by beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage that forms a long strand called glycan strand. So repeating NAGA, NAMA bind by beta-1,4 glycosidic unit forms the strands. That is the first part of peptidoglycan, glycan strand. Second part is the tetrapeptide side chain. Now what is tetrapeptide side chain? Here every N-acetyl muramic acid, that is NAMA, each NAMA sugar, that is muramic acid sugar, carries a chain of tetra. Tetra means 4. It carries a chain of 4 amino acids, and that chain is called as tetrapeptide side chain. Now which are these amino acids? These are L-alanine, D-glutamic acid, meso-D-aminopimelic acid, and D-alanine. That forms a chain called as tetrapeptide side chain. Such every muramic acid carries the tetrapeptide side chain. Now which is the third part of peptidoglycan? Third part is the cross linkage. Now in every tetrapeptide side chain is cross linked by a cross linkage, and cross linkage occurs between fourth amino acid at its carboxyl end and third amino acid at its amide end. There is formation of CONH bond between the fourth amino acid of one chain and third amino acid of the another chain. That is the cross linkage, and with the help of cross linkage, structure becomes more and more meshwork like or rigid, a meshwork like structure. So that is the first part of the cell, that is peptidoglycan. Now next is now what is the function of this peptidoglycan? The main function of the peptidoglycan, it gives rigidity. It is a shape determining component of cell. In short, it is the backbone of cell. Now this is the structure of peptidoglycan. Here in this first figure, This is the arrangement of peptidoglycan in case of gram positive cell wall. As I told, gram positive cell wall is more or less consist of, as I told, gram positive cell wall mainly consists of peptidoglycan. So these are the different layers of glycan strands, sheets of glycan strands forms the peptidoglycan, and in case of gram negative it consists of very less amount of peptidoglycan. This is a single sheet of peptidoglycan present at the inner side of the cell wall. Gram negative cell is bilayered, so this is outer layer, this is inner layer. Gram positive cell wall is monolayered, is only made up of peptidoglycan. Now this is the structure of peptidoglycan. As I told, glycan strand is there, glucosamine, muramic acid, glucosamine, muramic acid, such repeating units are there, such number of strands arranged side by side. There is presence of tetrapeptide side chain to each muramic acid moiety. This yellow colored structure is muramic acid, N-acetyl muramic acid. It carries a chain of 4 amino acid, L-alanine, L-lysine. L-lysine is there in gram positive, and in gram negative it may be replaced by M-meso-D-amino pimelic acid. So chain of 4 amino acid linked by a cross linkage. So that is the structure of heteropolymer, which forms the exact backbone of the cell. It imparts the rigidity to the structure, and that is the peptidoglycan. Now next, a minor component present in the gram positive cell wall is teichoic acid. It is only about 10 to 30% part. Now what is this teichoic acid? This is the structure of the teichoic acid. This is the structure of the teichoic acid. These are the teichoic acid fibers comes out from the this rigid meshwork of the peptidoglycan. This is the meshwork of peptidoglycan. This one is the gram positive cell wall, and these are the small fibers of teichoic acid comes out from this peptidoglycan. Now what is this teichoic? What is the nature of these fibers, teichoic acid? Here in case of gram positive bacteria, there are two types of teichoic acid, ribitol teichoic acid and glycerol teichoic acid. They are structurally very similar. Here this ribitol teichoic acid, name itself indicate it is made up of ribose. This ribitol teichoic acid consists of ribitol sugars linked by, as you know, ribitol is C5 sugar. There is a linkage between these number of ribitol molecules arranged side by side, and they get linked by 1,5 phosphodiester linkage. So such linkages are there between the ribitol to form ribitol teichoic acid. And last one is the glycerol. In case of glycerol teichoic acid, number of glycerol molecules arranged side by side to form the and get linked by 1,3 phosphodiester linkage to form the glycerol teichoic acid. Now though this percentage of teichoic acid is very less, it is about 20-30% only. Though its percentage is very less, it performs different function. Now which are the functions performed by teichoic acid? The functions is, first is teichoic acid is antigenic determinant. Teichoic acid act as a, now first is teichoic acid act as an antigenic determinant. In case of pathogenic bacteria, these fibers of teichoic acid act as an antigen. Second function is they act as a site for attachment of bacteriophages. Bacteriophage can attach on this site and perform the lytic cycle or lysogeny. Next is they act as an endotoxin. During the cell division, the role of endotoxin is there, as well as in case of pathogenic bacteria, endotoxins have much importance. So it acts as an endotoxin, as well as teichoic acid creates cationic environment surrounding to the cell surface. So these are the variety of functions performed by the teichoic acid. And our peptidoglycan performs as a backbone. It is a slab of cell. It maintains the rigidity of the cell. Now we will go in detail about the composition of gram negative cell wall. Which are the components present in gram negative cell wall, how they are arranged here. First of all, gram negative cell wall is bilayered. It is heterogeneous. It consists of number of different chemical constituents, and it is less rigid. Now which are these chemical components of gram negative cell wall? First is the phospholipid. This is the phospholipid. Phospholipid consists of head and tail structure. Head is made up of phosphate, tails are made up of lipid, and that's what is called as phospholipid. In this phospholipid structure, it is the derivative of glycerol, and first two carbon atoms of the glycerol are linked to the long fatty acid chain to forms the two tails, and third carbon atom of the glycerol carries a phosphate, and to that phosphate there is a functional group R, and that forms the head. So that is the phosphatid. For example of the phospholipid present in the cell wall is phosphatidylethanolamine. So this is about the phospholipid. Phosphate head, lipidic tail. Heads are hydrophilic and tails are hydrophobic. That is the nature of phospholipid in case of gram-negative cell wall. Second component is lipopolysaccharide. In this phospholipid bilayer, in further slide we will observe the arrangement of these phospholipids, arrangement of all the in further slide. In the further slide, we will observe the arrangement of all these chemical constituent in the gram-negative cell wall. Second component is lipopolysaccharide. This is the structure for lipopolysaccharide. It consists of lipid A. This portion is called as lipid A. This one is the R core, and last is a O side chains, and last is the O side chains. This lipid A region is made up of glucosamine derivative. It is glucosamine lipidic structure. R core and O side chains are made up of sugars, especially in case R core and O side chains are made up of sugars, especially in case of R core usual sugars are there, and in case of O side chain unusual sugars are present. Now this is the structure of lipid A. This is the portion called as lipid A. This is the structure called as lipopolysaccharide. This portion is called as lipid A. It is made up of glucosamine derivative attached with the fatty acid chain, R core and O side chain. R core consists of unusual sugars, and this O side chain has different types of sugars, forms the O side chain. Now second part of the gram negative second component of the gram negative cell is protein. Here proteins are also present in the cell wall. These proteins are called as porine proteins. They form the channel in the gram negative cell wall, or pores in the gram negative cell wall. Next one is lipoprotein. This is structure of lipoprotein. Lipoproteins are made up of lipid. Central portion is made up of lipid, and these are the lipoprotein. This is structure of lipoprotein. This central portion is made up of protein, and these are the lipidic tails. So that is the structure called as lipoprotein. And last component present is peptidoglycan. It is about very less percentage as compared to the gram positive cell wall. So this is the peptidoglycan. Here the nature of peptidoglycan is as similar to that of the gram positive cell wall with few minor differences. Now this is the arrangement in case of the this is the arrangement this is the arrangement this is the arrangement in of these all chemical constituent in case of gram negative cell wall. First is the phospholipid form the, as I told, gram positive cell wall are bilayered. Here these are the two layers. This is the outer layer and this is the inner layer. This one is the inner layer. Outer layer consists of phospholipid bilayer. At the same time, in that bilayer there is presence of lipopolysaccharide. This is the location of lipopolysaccharide. Third component is a protein. Proteins, this is the proteins form the channel or porine. They are also called as porine because they form the channel through the cell wall. So this that is the location of porins or proteins present in the cell wall. Next is lipoproteins. These are the lipoproteins. They act as a bridge between the outer and inner layer, and inner layer is made up of thin layer of the peptidoglycan. So that is the structure of gram negative cell wall. Now we will go for the functions of cell wall. Now cell wall is functionally very important because cell wall protect the cell. It is a protective part of the cell. It gives protection against the mechanical injury. That is the important function of cell wall. Next function is cell wall is a shape determining component. Suppose we remove the cell wall, cell loses its shape. So it is a shape determining component of the cell. It offers protection. Cell wall offers protection against the mechanical injury. It protects the cell organelles from any mechanical injury. Next, an important function is it carries antigenic determinant. As I told, teichoic acids of gram positive cell wall and O side chains of the gram negative cell wall act as an antigenic determinant. The next is it provides site for attachment of bacteriophage. Again, lipopolysaccharides, O side chains of lipopolysaccharide and teichoic acid act as a site for attachment of bacteriophage. And last one is that they have role in the cell division. For the during the binary cell division, cell wall has important role. Then last function of the cell wall is it maintains cationic balance of the on the cell surface. So these are the different functions of cell wall. Thank you. In our next video, we will see the next part of the cell, that is cell membrane. Now let us see second layer of the cell, bacterial cell, that is cell membrane. Cell membrane is also called as plasma membrane. It is also called as cytoplasmic membrane as it limits the cytoplasm, or it is also called as periplasmic membrane because it is surrounding to the cytoplasm or surrounding to the plasma of the cell. Now it is functionally very different than that of the cell wall. Cell wall only offers the protection. Besides of that, cell membrane is vitally very important. After removing cell membrane, cell cannot remain alive. But after removal of cell wall, we can maintain the cell in the isotonic environment. So cell membrane is vital layer of the cell. It performs many different essential functions of the cell. Now, what is this cell wall? Let us see what is this cell membrane, how it forms and how it functions. Now, first is cell membrane is a layer just beneath the cell wall. Then the nature of cell membrane is unique in all cell. In case of fungi, in case of bacteria, in case of plant cell, animal cell, all their cell membranes are more or less similar. In case of cell wall is different. In case of bacteria, fungi, plant, their cell wall is totally different. But in case of cell membrane is unique in all cells. Another most important property of the cell membrane is not rigid as like that of the cell wall. It is semi-permeable selective membrane. It is osmoregulatory. It maintains the osmotic balance of the cell. Another is, as I told, cell membrane perform essential functions of the cell. We may say it as cell membrane is a heart of cell. That's why it is a vital part of cell. Now, as I told, cell membrane is also called as cytoplasmic membrane because it limits the cytoplasm. This is the structure of cell membrane with its chemical components. Now, let us see about the chemical composition of this cell membrane. Now, chemically, cell membrane consists of major two components. One is phospholipid, another is protein. This phospholipid present in the cell membrane is as like that of the cell wall. It is also head and tail structure. It is about 40% in the cell membrane. These phospholipids are amphiphilic. Amphiphilic means it has both parts, hydrophobic parts as well as hydrophilic parts. As I told, in the cell wall, phospholipid has head and tail structure. Head is phosphate, it is hydrophilic, and tail is lipidic, it is hydrophobic. And that's why the same phospholipid is present in the cell membrane. It is called as amphiphilic phospholipid. That is with a polar hydrophobic glycerol heads, consist of phosphate heads, phosphate group and functional group attached by the ester bond. Then second is it has a tail-like structure. It consists of two unsaturated fatty acid chains at first and second carbon atom of the glycerol molecule. Third carbon atom carries the phosphate head with the functional group. Now this is the structure of the as an example I have given this structure of the phospholipid. Suppose this is a glycerol molecule. At its first and second carbon atom, it carries long fatty acid chain. This structure indicates the tail region. This fatty acid chain or lipidic region forms the tail region of phospholipid, and this third carbon atom of the glycerol carries a phosphate. Here it is the phosphate, and this phosphate get attached to a functional group. It may be ethanolamine, it may be serine, it may be choline, like that. So that is the head structure, and this one is the tail structure. These tails fatty acid chains get attached by ester linkage to the first and second carbon atom of the glycerol. So that is the nature of phospholipid present in the cell membrane. Now next component, chemical component of the cell membrane is protein. About 60% part is made up of protein. Here proteins are dispersed in the phospholipid bilayer, and there are mainly two types of proteins. Some proteins are structural proteins, they form the structure of cell membrane, and some are enzymatic proteins. They perform different functions and associated with the cell membrane. Now in next slide we will see the how these phospholipids and proteins get arranged to form the structure of cell membrane. So this is the structure of the cell membrane. It was number of scientists explain structure of cell membrane. One of the best accepted model which explain the cell membrane is fluid mosaic model. It was given by Singer and Nicholson. According to this model, this is a Singer and Nicholson's fluid mosaic model. In this model, they have shown that phospholipid forms the bilayer. Phospholipids get arranged in the cell membrane side by side and forms. There is no rigid binding between these adjacent phospholipids. They get arranged side by side longitudinally and forms a fluidic cell membrane. That's why cell membrane is not rigid, it is fluid, and that word came is fluid. Fluid in the sense the structure is not rigid, only phospholipid bilayer by arranging side by side longitudinally form the structure. Another component is protein. This yellow and brown color spot indicate the protein. Some proteins are structural proteins. As I told, these structural proteins are integrated throughout this phospholipid bilayer and forms the channel, or they forms the pores. And another protein is the enzymatic protein. These are the proteins which are arranged laterally. In these brown color proteins, their arrangement, we can easily see this arrangement is lateral. They are not embedded through the structure. So these lateral proteins may be enzymes, essential enzymes of the cell. They may be components of electron transport chain. They may be components of photosynthetic machinery, and they perform their function at that site. So that is the these proteins, these lateral proteins are essential proteins. Suppose they are enzymes. Cell uses that enzyme and they are found to be replacing their site. After their use, they get deposited on another site, and that's why this structure is found to be moving. These lateral proteins make changes their places, and that's why it is found to be moving like a mosaic, and that word is mosaic. So that structure is fluid mosaic, which explains the property of cell membrane, and that is the best model up till now explain regarding to the cell membrane. So this is the type of arrangement of phospholipid and protein in the cell membrane. Now, which are the functions of cell membrane? Cell membrane is functionally very important for the cell because it performs some vital functions of the cell. First and very important function is cell membrane is permeability barrier for most of the molecule. As I told, cell membrane is semi-permeable. It acts as it allow the passage of only specific solute in the cell membrane. So it acts as a permeability barrier. It's serving as a location for transport of specific molecule in the cell. So it regulates the entry or passage of specific solutes in the cell. So that is first and very important function. Second function is as phospholipid bilayer forms the cell membrane, this lipid portion of the outer membrane is impermeable to the charged molecule. As we studied this structure, this lipidic portion is impermeable to the charged molecule, but these porine proteins, these are the porine proteins, they form channel through the cell membrane. These porine proteins present in the membrane of cell membrane act as a passive, they act as a pores or channels for the passive transport of some ions, sugars and amino acids across the membrane. So that is another function. Third function is, as I told, these lateral proteins are maybe components of electron transport chain. Here this electron transport chain is the energy synthesizing machine of the cell. So energy was synthesized at the cell membrane. Cell membrane is associated with the energy generation. So energy generation involves in case of respiratory and photosynthetic electron transport chain and establishment of proton motive force. This proton motive force is also associated with the cell membrane, as well as ATP synthesizing machinery and ATP synthesizing ATPase enzyme is also located in the cell membrane. So that is how we can see that cell membrane is very important for the energy generation of the cell. It is the site for energy generation of the bacterial cell. Now next most important function is synthesis of membrane lipid occur at the cell membrane, like lipopolysaccharides in case of gram negative cell, and in peptidoglycan in case of the gram-positive cell, they are synthesized at the membranes. Now next is they act as an assembly and secretion of the extra cytoplasmic proteins also done at the cell membrane. Next function is it coordinates the DNA replication and segregation with the septum formation and cell division. Here cell membrane has a vital role in the formation of cross septum. During the binary fusion, central mesosome grows and forms a septum. That role was played by our cell membrane. At the same time, during cell sporulation, this subterminal mesosome grows and forms a septum. That two functions, formation of cross wall or formation of septum, was governed by cell membrane. And last function is cell membrane is chemotactic. Both motility of the cell is also governed at the cell membrane. Energy required for the motility, energy required for the motion of rotors was also given by the at this is also associated with the cell membrane. So that is how we can see that cell membrane is a vital part, and that's why I said cell membrane is the heart of cell.